Hey all, I am so excited to have you here today. We've got a lot to unpack about the Trump administration's latest moves, and honestly, it feels like the news cycle just keeps getting more intense every single day. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's break this all down together. Over the weekend, the administration turned up the pressure on sanctuary cities, and Chicago has found itself right in the middle of the storm. Border Czar Tom Homan made it clear that residents in sanctuary cities should expect action, which has everyone wondering, what exactly does that mean? Now, just to clarify, the National Guard isn't actually going to be making arrests themselves. Instead, they're providing backup, things like infrastructure and logistics, to help IC and Border Patrol carry out operations. But even with that distinction, it's no surprise that cities like Chicago are pushing back hard. Mayor Brandon Johnson came out swinging, calling the move unconstitutional, and on top of that, protests erupted across the city, on Michigan Avenue, outside federal buildings, you name it. And here's the ripple effect. Major events tied to Mexican Independence Day, like El Grito Chicago, have already been canceled. Organizers say they're worried about safety and the possibility of federal raids. That's a pretty big deal because these events are deeply cultural and bring communities together. Now they're being disrupted because of fear. Do you think that's fair? Should cultural events really be put on pause because of political crackdowns? And it's not just sanctuary cities making headlines. President Trump also signed an executive order rebranding the Department of Defense as the Department of War. Yes, you heard that right, the Department of War. This is actually a throwback to its original name from decades ago, but the timing is what really has people talking. It comes right after the U.S. sank a Venezuelan drug vessel, which makes the whole move feel more symbolic of aggression and power than just a historical nod. But here's the bigger question. What's the real purpose behind a rebrand like this? Is it just a name change, or is it meant to signal a shift in how America uses its military? A lot of critics are saying it's another example of Trump flexing authority in ways that test the limits of the Constitution. Do you think this is mostly optics, or should we take it as a serious policy shift? Meanwhile, the courts are already busy dealing with these moves. A federal judge in California recently ruled that Trump's deployment of the National Guard there violated the Posse Comitatus Act, which is meant to stop the military from getting directly involved in domestic policing. That ruling actually blocked the use of those troops in certain operations, which sets a big precedent. Still, the administration doesn't seem to be backing down anytime soon. And over in Washington, D.C., Trump went even further, using the Home Rule Act to federalize local law enforcement and call in National Guard troops, even though the city's crime rate is at its lowest point in 30 years. That left a lot of people scratching their heads. If crime isn't spiking, then why flex federal power in that way? Is it about solving problems, or is it about control? Now, think about how this all feels on the ground. In cities where people are already nervous about immigration enforcement, the idea of federal forces being deployed is more than just politics. It's personal. Families are worried about raids, small businesses are on edge, and even cultural traditions are being sidelined. It's no wonder the protests are picking up speed. The question is, where does this all lead? Looking ahead, a few things are worth keeping an eye on. First, whether the administration tries to invoke emergency powers or even the Insurrection Act to expand these efforts further. Second, how the courts continue to rule on the limits of federal authority. And third, how local governments, many of them led by Democrats, decide to respond. Do they fight back harder in court? Do they resist on the ground? Or do they look for ways to negotiate? The bigger picture here is that we're watching a clash between federal power and local control, and it's not just about law, it's about identity, culture, and civil rights. For a lot of people, this moment feels like a turning point in how government interacts with everyday life. Do you feel like these moves are protecting Americans, or do they go too far in terms of federal overreach? All right, friends, that's where things stand for now. I'll keep you updated as this story develops because you can bet this isn't the last we'll hear about it. Thanks so much for tuning in and spending some time with me today. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with a friend who follows politics, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss future updates. I'd also love to hear your take in the comments. What do you think will happen next with these crackdowns? Let's talk about it down below. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.